Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. For some of you, I guess, potentially, depending on where you're at in the world, it could be the morning, but I think at this point it's afternoon for everybody, or just hit the afternoon for you West Coasters. My name's Jeff Glover with Glover U, and we also have Taylor Kerrigan joining us as she's going to walk you through portions of 75 Hard. And the reason why I've asked her to join me is because she is the one that administered it with our organization. And for those that are not familiar, so we'll just get some of the basics out of the way first. If this is your first webinar or anything ever with Glover U, do me a favor and drop in the chat. My first time attendees, I want to see who you are and where you're coming from. So make sure you put your city and state or your province in there so we see who our first timers are. Although I would imagine most of you are regulars or second or more because we didn't really promote this too much. So good to see some first timers, although I imagined most of our attendees would be for somewhat regular, since we didn't really put a lot of effort into getting the word out about 75 Hard, because quite frankly, it's something that we announced at our summit a couple of weeks ago in Phoenix. And if you're like me, I'm sure you're probably missing Phoenix at this point, not just because of the weather, but because all of the camaraderie and the environment that we created for everybody. Hopefully, for those of you that were there at the Live Unreal Summit in Phoenix, you enjoyed your time, and we very much appreciate all of the feedback that you sent in. We are reviewing that and already making adjustments. So first things first, welcome everybody. Good to see. We do have a lot of first timers, and we have some regulars joining us as well. When you do comment in the chat, make sure you're commenting to everyone, not just hosts and panelists, so that way everyone can see your messages. And always include your city and state. As you know, with our organization, we promote referrals, agent-to-agent referrals, and we love to see our people winning through agent-to-agent referrals. So you're here today because we're going to talk about 75 Hard. And for my first timers, if you're not familiar with our organization, I recommend you get the chance to take advantage of all of our free resources. You can find them in the Glover U app. So in your app store, just search Glover U. We've got a ton of free resources. I encourage you to take advantage of them. And if you're not familiar, Glover U is a broker agnostic training and coaching company for agents all over North America. We have events now of over 1,000 attendees, and at any given time, 500 or more clients in our system using it at a high level from brokerages all over the US and Canada. And so today you're here because you're here to learn a little bit about 75 Hard. And I will tell you, we actually first started talking about 75 Hard probably a year or so ago, and maybe it was 9 months ago. Anyways, it was a while ago. And we started talking about it internally within our own organization, our real estate team, the Glover Agency, and we started mentioning it to a few of our clients, but ultimately we didn't really want to get it out there to the public until we had tested it ourselves. For those of you that are not super familiar with Glover U, we don't share anything that we haven't trialed and errored ourselves. I know a lot of coaches and trainers today will take stuff that they've heard from others and kind of regurgitate it and say, oh, it worked for this client in this market. And we don't do it that way. I hope you can respect that. We're only sharing things that are working for us. And so as much as it pained us to get the word out about this, because we wanted to share it last year, but same thing I said to Taylor, and I know that she agrees with this as well, we're not getting it out there until we can prove that it works within our own organization. And we have done so. And we had great success with it. And so now we are allowing those of our followers or attendees or clients at Glover U to perhaps take advantage of it the same way our associates have taken advantage of it. Now, I know there's several of you that are on here that have already actually signed up for the program, and you're committed and you're ready to go. And this is kind of like your orientation. I know there's a handful of you, probably the majority of you, if I had to guess, that are on here because you're curious, considering, and before you commit to put up a few bucks, which will explain how that process works, before you commit to put up some money that you have an opportunity to earn back, which most of you will earn back, you want to find out more about the program. And we totally understand and expect that. I made it very clear at the summit that we did not roll out 75 hard as an opportunity for us to earn income to the organization. We actually asked those in the audience to consider it like an escrow or a holding company, because we intend to make sure we do everything we can to get you through all 75 days so you get your money back at the end of the program, which I think is one of the coolest parts. And by the way, it's the reason why it's effective, because without skin in the game, it's very hard to be effective. And I'll talk about that in just a second. So the second group, I know you're here because you're curious and you're thinking that this could be for you, but you want to know more before you put your money in escrow, so to speak. And then there's a third group that's here because maybe you're leading a brokerage or you're leading a team and you want to roll out something within your brokerage or within your team, something similar to that. And so we respect that. We appreciate that. You know, I'm a big believer in doing everything I can for the industry. And our mission at Glover U is to impact millions to live their most unreal life. And if you're here to duplicate your version of it in some way or another, we support that. We encourage that. And I'm excited to hopefully see you and your agents at some point at one of our events. And you can tell me all about the success that your team or company had with your 75 hard program, and pluses, minuses, what worked for you, what didn't. So that way we can always do better as well. So thank you for joining us if you fall into that category. Now, what I will tell you is when I think about 75 hard from a health standpoint, it is effective for several reasons. For those of you that are familiar with the 75 hard for health and fitness, it's effective because it's extreme, but those extremes really are designed to kind of shock the system. And when you shock your system, that's when you start to see really fast results. Now, the one thing that 75 hard, again, health and fitness side of it, and I'll get into the real estate side in a second, does a really good job of is it's extreme, but it's not a sprint. It's a marathon. It's 75 days. And you can read any book on life and success and know that it takes 21, 30 days, 45 days, depending on who's authoring the book, to create a habit. And what it's really designed to do is create a new lifelong habit. This should not be treated as a diet, or a crash diet, although, that is a portion of, diet is a portion of 75 hard. This really should create some new lifelong habits for you. And we'll get into why that is and what those are in just a second. So thanks again for joining us for the 75 hard. I guess we'll call this kind of orientation. Many of you will end up joining us, I'm aware, and many of you will join us at a later date, and that's fine too. So I wrote down, I've got a couple of things I'm going to share, and then I'm going to pass it over to Taylor, who not only administered our own version of it with our team. She's the director of sales at the Glover Agency. So she's, in it with our people. Obviously, you guys know that I'm in the trenches with you as a real estate salesperson, which I'm really excited about 75 hard, because I'm going to be making some guest appearances in your meetings and giving you words of wisdom from time to time, as well as you work through this 75 challenge for yourself. So I wrote down, and I want you to follow along if you would. So why does this program work? All right. Why does 75 hard for real estate work? So this is specific now to real estate. And if you want to write these down, I would encourage you to do so. So number one, the reason why 75 hard works for real estate is because it develops mental toughness, which leads to more confidence. By the way, that's one of the things it does in the health and fitness journey. For those of you that are familiar with 75 hard, it absolutely creates a really strong sense of mental toughness, which leads to this feeling of I can do anything in terms of my body. In real estate, it leads to this feeling of put me in front of any buyer and seller and I can close them. That's a really good feeling as a real estate agent to have, because when you have that feeling, then it encourages us to want to go out and make the calls or make the door knocks or create a video for Facebook or create a post for Instagram. It's a mental toughness in terms of why does this work? It's going to create for you a mental toughness that's going to lead to more confidence in the industry. That's number one. The second thing I wrote down as to why the 75 program for real estate works is because it's the daily activity versus the big picture. It's the daily activity versus the big picture. And what I mean by that is In real estate, we sometimes almost focus too much on the big picture. And I don't mean like, what are your 3-year goals and your 5-year goals and what do you want on your vision board? I'm not talking about that because we do need to spend more time talking about our unreal life and our 3 to 5 year plans. I'm talking about in real estate, we tend to think about, our goals as an annual goal. Well, my goal is to sell 30 homes this year. My goal is to sell 100 homes this year. My goal is to make 5 million, or my goal is to do 20 million in volume. And the reason why this 75 hard program works for real estate is because it's daily steps where we're not looking at the big picture. It's what do we need to do day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. And the big picture will end up showing up for you later. We oftentimes don't approach each day with enough urgency. And that's where this whole thought of I'll get to it later. I'll get around to it. Didn't have a great week this week. I'll make up for it next week. That's where a lot of this comes in, and 75 hard for real estate removes that. That's number 2. Number 3 is it has built-in daily accountability. Built-in daily accountability, which for a lot of you, I know you're in our coaching, or maybe you're coaching with somebody else. You don't get daily accountability in one-on-one coaching because most of your calls are, once a week, or depending on what program you're in, maybe once every other week. And that's kind of it. Now, you may have a little bit set up with accountability partners here and there, but this is daily. And so no day gets left behind, because if a day gets left behind, then you got to get caught up, and getting behind and catching up is not a lot of fun. And of course, Taylor will share with you kind of the logistics of how that works, because you might be wondering. By the way, I'm going to encourage everybody. Sorry, I didn't say this in the beginning. We've got a list of frequently asked questions. After I go through my part, Taylor goes through her part. We got a whole list of frequently asked questions because, as you can imagine, we had a lot of people sign up for this at the summit down in Phoenix. So we're going to go through all of those, and I'm going to ask you to leave all your questions to the end. Reason being is we're going to answer 95% of your questions by the time we're done here. All right. So hold your questions to the end, please, if you would. So there's built-in accountability. By the way, if you're not familiar with the 75 hard for health and fitness, you have to send photos daily. Kind of a similar concept. There's daily accountability built in. We'll talk about that. Why does 75 hard for real estate work? Because it promotes routine consistency, which leads to a compound effect. It promotes routine consistency, which leads to the compound effect. If anyone's read that great book, The Compound Effect, I think it's Darren Hardy was the author. Such an awesome book about health, fitness, money, finances, work, and how just little small steps each day end up compounding later. It promotes routine consistency, which leads to a compound effect. Why does 75 for real estate work? I wrote down because the penalty for catching up or starting over creates discipline. A lot of people that join coaching will say, hey, I've got marketing down, I got this down, but I'm just not the most disciplined person. I'm not the most disciplined with my routines or with my time. It absolutely is going to force you. When you're done in the 75 days, you will never tell somebody that you could be a little bit more of a disciplined person. You'll know what being a disciplined person looks like. Next, why does 75 hard for real estate work? This is probably my favorite, and I should have led off with this one. Because it creates an environment of production for you. It creates an environment of production for you. We've said for years at our real estate organization or on our real estate team that our culture is production, right? You've heard this term culture thrown around the industry for the last couple of decades. Well, certainly there's something to be said about warm and fuzzy involved in your culture, but at the end of the day, if you were to ask me, Jeff, what's different about your culture? We have a culture of production. That's what's different. So it's going to create that environment for you. And it's so amazing how impactful an environment is to our business and to our lives. And that's one thing that 75 Hard is going to do. What else? Why does the 75 Hard program work? I wrote down because you create referral, role play, and mastermind partners for life. You're going to create referral, role play, and mastermind partners for life. Man, forget about the money, forget about the daily activities. That alone is going to be something that's going to stick with you for life. You're going to have people that you're role playing with, people that are holding you accountable, people that you're masterminding with. You go to our events. I mean, people are at our events saying, hey, this is my 5th event. And because of this event, I don't even have to pay for these trips anymore because of all the referrals I get. creates referral, role play, and mastermind partners for life. And I would say the last thing on why does 75 hard work for real estate, and this is more so to my team owners or brokers or leaders of teams in the group that are joining us today. It is absolutely the most complete and intense onboarding that you can offer a team or a brokerage today. I've seen them all. I mean, it's my job in 21 years of doing this. It's my job to study the industry. Aside from being a producer and leading the leader of our team, of course, Taylor runs our team today. Aside from all of that, when I look at everything that's out there that exists, nothing is as complete and nothing is as intense as Glover U's 75 Hard. And I know that because we have teams all across the country that are now using our SalesRocket platform as their onboarding system. And so what you're going to see in a little bit is how 75 Hard takes that platform and builds in the accountability around it and creates the environment around it. So the next question that we get, and I'm going to hand it over to Taylor here in a second so she can share with you how we're going to administer the program. The next question that might be on your mind, or one of the first questions on your mind, is, well, what type of results can I expect from this? And I'm very conservative with the results I believe you're going to expect from this, if you want to write this down. So what type of results can you expect? Ready? I wrote down absolutely zero in the first 30 days. Yep, that's right. Wait a minute, Jeff. I'm signing up for a 75-day program and you're telling me the first 30 days I'm going to get nothing? Well, yeah, you're going to get nothing in terms of results, but that's also the industry we're in. You understand an activity you make today is not going to show up in your bank account for another 30, 60 days anyways. So no, you're not going to have any results. Now, are you going to experience a little bit of uncomfortableness? Sure. Are you going to start to develop habits? Of course. Are you going to create consistency? Yes. Are you going to enjoy your environment? Are you going to look forward to the homework? Some days, maybe. You're going to have those types of results, sure. But in terms of showing up in your paycheck in your bank account, none the first 30 days. I wrote down what type of results can you expect? Day 31 through 59 will be very light. Very light results. Wait a minute, Jeff. Okay, 75-day program, and you're telling me essentially the first 2 months of it, I'm going to get at best light results? Yes. We are in a business where pending and closing cycles are 30 to 60 days. So there might be something we have you do during day 21. The results aren't going to show up until day 52. So yes, you're going to have some results between day 31 and 59. What is that sum? Could it be one extra closing? Maybe. For some of you, yes. You're going to experience, some of you that go through 75 Hard are going to have your first transaction directly resulted from Glover U 75 Hard by day 31, 32. Absolutely. There's going to be a handful of you in the group that do that. The rest of you might get a contract, might have a new listing, might have a new buyer sale, or might have multiple offers written or whatever between day 31 and 59, but I would say to expect light results. What type of results can you expect from day 60 to 75? Regular. That's when it kicks in. This is what we've experienced within our own organization. Day 60 to 75, in other words, the last 2 weeks of the program, yes, that's right. I'm going to go all 75 days, and I'm not going to get regular results until the last 2 weeks. Yes, I hope you can appreciate we're being honest and upfront with you because we know what it's going to take. But here's what's really cool. Regular results start to show up in day 60 to 75. Heavy results from day 76 through 120. And the only reason why I'm saying through 120, not like 76 through 365, is because when the program's over, I can't guarantee you're going to keep up the same activities. But what I can promise you is if you do everything you're supposed to do on day 100 or 110, when you're sitting at a closing table thinking about, where did I get these clients in the first place? Oh my gosh, it was when I was in 75 Hard. No way. It's just now 110 days in, just now getting this closing. Oh yeah, you're going to experience it after 76 days in the program. Essentially, when the program's over is when you're going to get the majority of the results. It's the same thing we saw within our own organization when we ran it. Okay, so I wanted to answer a couple of those questions up front. Again, if you're wondering like who's this for, I mean, heck, anyone who's in real estate, whether you're a buyer's agent, a listing agent, or a salesperson, a solo salesperson, an agent on a team. I mean, I don't see why this based on homework and all the assignments, I don't see why this really wouldn't be for anyone. You may be a top producer looking for more accountability. You might already be selling 50 or 60 homes and just want more access to our system. You're gonna get that. And I'm gonna hand it over to Taylor Kerrigan now because she was the one who really built it within our own organization. And you guys are getting the benefit because we've already ran this once within our own organization. And for those of you that are not familiar, we close somewhere between 900 and 1,000 transactions a year with about 30 salespeople. So we're pretty high in terms of per person productivity. But Taylor's the one that ran with it with our group, and we've tweaked it and we've made it better even from when we ran it with our group, because you learn as you go. And I hope you can appreciate, we were not going to release this to you guys until we had our own success with it. And now we're ready to do so, as we announced a couple of weeks ago at the summit in Phoenix. So I wanted to share a couple of my thoughts on it. I'm now going to pass the baton over to Taylor so she can share her thoughts, and most importantly, how this program is going to be administered, since all of you are in all parts of North America and all of you are with all different brokerages. So how do we do this? Taylor, take it away.
All right, thanks, Jeff. And I 100% agree with you. We wanted to make sure that we were beta testing this with Glover Agency first and had success with it. And we talk a lot about at Glover U that we're boots on the ground, right? And anytime we're releasing anything to Glover U, we have made sure that we saw results from it at Glover Agency first, or in our own market first. So if you're thinking to yourself, is this program for me? What makes sense? I can tell you the same thing that I've told our agents. If you want to have a different year than you had in 2023, so maybe you weren't happy with your results in 2023, maybe you could have done better, I'm going to ask you, putting my sales manager hat on or my coach hat on, unless you're doing 3 to 5 things differently in 2024 than you did in 2023, you're going to have a repeat year. And so if you're sitting and talking to yourself and thinking, okay, what am I doing differently? Resetting your habits and activity is the first and most effective thing you can do for correcting your path as far as getting more production in 2024. So for every single the Copex just said nothing changes if nothing changes. That's absolutely true. If you're not changing anything in your daily routine, in your habits, in your lead generation, you can expect the same results that you had in 2023. So one of the things too that I always say is sometimes there's people, oh my gosh, am I going to have enough time for this? Am I going to, be able to do this and also do one-on-one coaching or also do this group program? Here's what I'll tell you. It is these activities, and we're going to go through kind of like the things you need to know, I guess, in a moment. All of these activities in 75 Hard, if you are a full-time real estate agent, there are things that you should be doing anyways every day. But here's what I know from being, in this industry for 10 years and being able, having the honor of running Glover Agency or managing the agents at Glover Agency. A lot of times real estate agents struggle with doing all of these things consistently every single day. And that's the difference maker. You may do these things, but you don't do them same time, same day, every single day. And when you do, and you start to have a focus on these daily activities, that's when you start to see a change in your results. And, it's the same exact thing that I saw with our associates. So if it's okay with you, let's get into, I've got I've got 8 different things that I just want to cover with you as far as kind of the, I guess, nitty gritty of 75 Hard and what you can expect. So first, let's start with homework. So your homework every single day during the 75-day period, which, as a reminder, this is run Monday through Friday. It is business days only. We always suggest that you take a weekend day off. And because I don't know which weekend day it is that you're taking, that's why we don't have anything on weekends. Okay. Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. every single day, your homework is posted. Now, this is 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, so I understand for some of you on the West Coast, it may be super early. Does not mean that you need to start working on it right away. The reason why we do 7 a.m. is because at Glover Agency, we have a 7:30 accountability call. So it's always right before the accountability call, I'm posting the homework. And regardless of what time you get up and get started, you know what you can expect for that day, okay? So homework is posted every single morning at 7 a.m. There's a mix of script practice, lead generation, social media, database, SalesRocket, and face-to-face every day. Now, what I mean by that is you're not doing all 6 things every single day. You're going to see a mix of that every single, maybe one day it's mainly focused on social media and let's just say database. Maybe the next day it's focused on face-to-face and SalesRocket. You'll see that those kind of different categories in each of the homework assignments, okay? Number 2, this is completion. So the expectation is that you will complete all 75 days before May 15th, which is our end date. So we start on February 1st, we end on May 15th. And now we're in Michigan, so we absolutely have a seasonal market, and I know many of you do as well. May 15th is also kicking off right in the middle of our spring selling season. So what better time to create habits and new routines than right now, so that way they follow through what is considered, at least here in Michigan, our busy season. As I mentioned, there's no homework on weekends, and I don't believe there's any national holidays during the week during those days, but if there is, there will not be any on that day either. We'll let you know. And so what's important to know about completion is part of the reason why we don't have homework on weekends is because this is your opportunity to catch up. So Jeff will always tell you, we want you to take vacations. We want you to have sometimes a mindset day, a reset day. You'll never be penalized for that. We just ask that you use a weekend day to catch back up. So for instance, let's say you take a 5-day vacation in the middle of 75 hard. Well, then just know in your mind, that'll be 5 Saturdays or 5 Sundays that you'll need to catch up on the homework that you missed. Okay. And to be quite honest, again, if you were any of our agents at Glover Agency, I would tell you if you're taking a week-long vacation, we do need to add in a couple more weekends to catch back up to allow you that time that you took off. Okay. So that's completion. Number 3, posting of homework. Anyone who is enrolled in the 75 Hard program will be added to our 75 Hard Facebook group. And it is an expectation that at the end of each day, or by the end of the program, but my suggestion is that at the end of each day, you're posting your completed homework. So essentially the way that this worked when we did it with Glover Agency, if today was the 29th and you completed your homework for the 29th at, let's just say 7 p.m., you took a picture of all of your homework and you posted it as one post in the group. And I'll explain what happens with this. Essentially, as far as tracking your homework, we will be going in and saying, okay, I can see Donna's name here. So we'll go in and say, okay, did Donna complete day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5? Oh, Donna didn't complete day 6. We got to let her know she didn't complete day 6. She's got to catch that one up. Okay. And now what is the definition of completing homework? I will make sure the rules are posted in the group for you. And if one day, let's just say it says we want you to go out and record a video, I'll give you some kind of guidelines as what our expectation is for completing the video. But it's very simple. You're going to get a Glover U contact sheet. In the contact sheet, if you haven't seen our Glover U contact sheet before, it essentially has start time, end time, how many contacts you made, how many appointments you set. It has a section where you can add people to the database. So when we ask you to do 90 minutes of lead gen every single day, I'm going to expect to see that contact sheet that shows you did 90 minutes of lead gen. How many contacts did you talk to during that time? And not that anyone would ever try to sell themselves short, but I'm going to ask you to put the date on the top. Therefore, you can't repeat the contact sheet every single day. Same thing, if it talks about script practice and I ask you to write out the expired script, I'm going to ask you to have the date up at the top. Again, I know no one would do this to themselves, and it's our job to hold you accountable and have parameters in holding you accountable. Okay. So we'll always be clear what completion means as far as completing the homework. And Jeff and I are here as a resource for you. If you're not sure if you did something right, you're always welcome to post in the Facebook group and ask me. I want to make sure that you learn and grow as a result of this experience. Obviously, we're going to ask that you just do one Facebook post a day for your homework. No one wants to have 75 posts, of each person's individual thing. We're going to show you a couple examples in the Facebook group when you join, so that way you can see exactly what it is that we're looking for. Okay. Let's see, number 4, lead generation. You may choose your own form of lead generation. every day you'll see we are asking you to complete 90 minutes of lead generation or 3 hours if you are behind on your goal. So this is what I'm talking about. You know, if you were an agent working alongside me at Glover Agency, you should be prospecting every day for 90 minutes anyways. It should not be something that is abnormal for you. If you're behind on your goal, again, we talk about what are the 3 to 5 things that we should do differently. Well, if you're behind on your goal, part of your midway Mayday, so to say, should be increasing the amount of time that you're lead genning. So I would encourage you, if you're behind, self-reflect on that and increase it from 90 minutes to 3 hours. Okay. I'll let you make that decision based on what your goal is. But as far as lead generation goes, it's whatever type of lead generation you prefer. If you're an agent who succeeds at a high level with expireds or for sale by owners, cool, make that your lead generation for that day. If you instead prefer to work with, let's just say, your database, or I have agents who work with old buyer leads, you know, prospecting old leads from 90 plus, you know, 120 days ago, that's totally fine too. You can prospect them. You get to choose your form of lead generation. You'll see my suggestions for you are expireds, for sale by owners, database, old buyer leads, or circle prospecting. Okay. Those are our suggestions for you. Next, number one question we get is, what do I need? Honestly, all you need is a phone call or a phone to be able to make calls, access to Facebook to post your results, and this is the hardest one, the willingness to get out of your comfort zone. One of the things that Jeff taught me 10 years ago, and it's stuck with me ever since, if it doesn't challenge you, it won't change you. Every time we're uncomfortable, we're growing. And so while this may, you know, there may be certain days that you're like, man, I really hate doing video. You know, I don't like the way I look. Unfortunately, I can't change that for you. We're coaches, we're not plastic surgeons. What I can tell you is the moment you get uncomfortable and the moment you just try, you're one step closer to hitting your goals for 2024. And we know that when you hit your goals, you're living your unreal life. Okay. So and the reason why I have this in here is we're not going to ask you to sign up for anything else other than SalesRocket to complete this course. And Jeff will talk more about that in just a moment. I'm not going to tell you need to sign up for, you know, Vulcan 7 or whatever other program during this. It's totally up to you. If you want to do that, fine. But you can always hand dial and make your contacts that way. There's not any add-ons that you're going to experience while you're in the 75 Hard program. Okay. Last two, actually, Jeff, I have SalesRocket here, and I know that you were going to talk about it. Do you want to mention SalesRocket briefly?
Yeah. So the reason why SalesRocket is required in 75 Hard is because much of the platform is built on the SalesRocket program. And so for those that are not familiar with SalesRocket, it is the exact same training that we put every single associate that joins our team through. And it is probably the most intense, if not the most intense, sales training in the industry. Without getting too detailed with it, it's you know, most teams and brokerages are good at helping you understand the laws and what you can do, how to host a great open house, what your buyer consultation should look like. This is very intense sales training. This is business planning. This is lead conversion. This is lead follow-up. And so SalesRocket is a 34 session virtual program, and each day, or however many, it's not every day. I know there's a handful of days each week in 75 Hard where one of the homework assignments will be watch session 7 from SalesRocket and do A, B, and C. While session 7 from SalesRocket might be how to increase your buyer lead conversion. And that falls in line with the day 7 assignments. And so we want to make sure you're following our sales system at the highest level because it's proven and it works. And so that really is because 75 Hard, if you hadn't heard, is going to be free for most of you. We hope it's going to be free for all of you. And the only reason I told the people in Phoenix this, the only reason why we have to collect something is because it's got to be painful enough Otherwise, you're going to get started on it and you're not going to finish. So if you know that you've got $1,000 sitting in escrow that you're not going to get back if you don't finish, well, you're going to work harder to make sure you finish. And so the SalesRocket piece of it is something that is, it really, as Taylor mentioned, is the only add-on that's required. And quite honestly, at this point, we've had thousands of people through the US and Canada go through it anyways. So it might be something you are already considering purchasing, or you might already have it. If you're a one-on-one client or an elite coaching client with us, it's already included in your contract. You have it. So SalesRocket is 34 sessions of very high level and modern sales training. When I say modern, I recorded all of these sessions last fall. So we're not even talking, it's not even 6 months old. Stuff that we're doing right now to succeed at a high level, and it is a very it is essentially the foundation of the 75 hard program, and you will not be able to complete 75 hard without access to it. So Taylor, can you tell them how they would access it and what the cost of SalesRocket is?
Yeah, so I saw a couple questions in the chat and I'll answer some of them just briefly. And then if there's any more, we'll cover it at the end. Just so you know, 75 hard, I'm sorry, SalesRocket, whether you are someone who just got started in the real estate industry 20 days ago, or you're a $20 million producer, you would be watching SalesRocket if you joined Glover Agency. Sometimes people think that SalesRocket is entry level. It is absolutely not. It teaches you everything in relation to a real estate business. If we're talking about how to do price reductions and handling the price expectation script, that's in SalesRocket. If we're talking about succeeding with expireds, SalesRocket. For sale by owners, SalesRocket. Jeff's personal listing presentation, SalesRocket. The 4 different personality styles, SalesRocket. SalesRocket is the new updated version of SLS. So if you took SLS previously, it has since been updated. Even if you just recently took it within the last 60 days, we've added additional sessions. I saw a few of you say it's 31. No, we've added more. Hybrid farming, door knocking, open houses are some of the sessions that have been added. And here is the same coaching advice that I will give you that I've given our agents, because our agents absolutely go through SalesRocket when they first join, because it's the foundation of our real estate business. And every week we're rewatching SalesRocket videos. So some of our agents, Kelly McHenry is a perfect example. She's been with us for 14 years. She's heard this stuff for 14 years. And I still have her rewatch it with us every single Wednesday, because you never know when you'll hear something and then it later shows up in a real estate transaction later that day. I had an agent just recently say, I'm so glad you made us watch the objection handler video this morning during Wednesday's 10 a.m. because I went on a listing appointment that night and I recognized that the person was giving me a smoke screen and not a true objection. And I was able to pull out what their objection was, and I was able to handle it, and I got the listing contract signed. So it doesn't matter that you've already gone through it within the last couple months. It doesn't matter if you've gone through it within the last year. I'm going to ask you to do it again, because I would never ask you to do something that is not going to force you or help you become a better version of yourself and a better realtor.
Well, and
Now,
you're at a different spot in your career every time you go through it too. So things hit
correct,
you're going to hear things differently. But
correct,
for
absolutely.
sake of time, Taylor, let's fast forward to
Yes.
how the program's administered from a cost standpoint. How, if I go on vacation, how am I?
Yeah.
And give us an idea of what a typical day of homework looks like. Because if I'm in their shoes, before I go put $1,000 in escrow, I want to know, all right, if there's a chance I'm not getting this back, at least let me know what a typical day, like give us an idea of like the hardest day of homework, the easiest day of homework, and maybe like an average day.
Yeah. So, and by the way, just for those of you asking, if you are taking 75 hard, you do need to purchase SalesRocket. Remember, the $1,000 that you are putting, consider it an escrow. You're getting that money back as long as you complete the 75 days. So your only, I guess, cost, so to say, is the $395 for SalesRocket if you don't already have it. Okay. And we'll cover that again at the end. I just saw a couple questions in there. So to answer Jeff's question about easiest day, hardest day, I will tell you a normal day is watching one of the sections of SalesRocket, which all of the sections or all of the sessions are 30 to 45 minutes. It's doing 90 minutes of lead gen. And then there's usually 1 to 2 other things. So it may be, for instance, a good example is, okay, today I'm going to ask you to comment on 5 people's Facebook post. I'm going to ask you to direct message 5 different people on Facebook, and I'm going to ask you to add 5 new people. Now, how long does that take you? Maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes, right? Depending on how, technologically advanced you are. That's an example of maybe what a medium day is. A harder day may be, hey, we want you to identify a recently sold listing in your, area that you work, whether it's one that you personally listed or one that, someone who you're prospecting for has listed. And I want you to call 50 of the closest neighbors and let them know of the recent sale and use the just sold script. That's an example of an add-on. It may actually also be, hey, I want you to door knock your 5 neighbors to your left and 5 neighbors to your right and make sure that they know you're a real estate agent. These are all examples of extra things that are added into 75 hard, but pretty much for the first 34 days or so, you're watching, every day you've got a SalesRocket, and the entire 75 days, we are lead genning every single day for 90 minutes. So again, nothing that we shouldn't be doing as real estate agents, because every single day we should be prospecting or lead genning for at least 90 minutes.
And Taylor, I know one of the ways that we keep track of this, because if I'm signing up for this, I know, I'm going to have some skin in the game, and that's what's going to force me to be accountable, because I'm going to do all these things so I can get that money back. And also, I appreciate the check-in on my actual activities, because otherwise I could just tell my broker or team lead or whoever, yeah, I lead gen for 90 days yesterday, and I'm going to do 90 again, when we didn't. So how do we make sure that that's actually happening?
Yeah, so Jeff, we covered that with the contact sheet, right? That's why we're asking you to post a picture of the contact sheet every single day and showing what your talk times are and how many contacts you made and how many appointments you set. And, I have to be honest and direct with you guys. If you lie and cheat through 75 hard, you're only lying and cheating yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you believe that you may not be honest with some of the actions that you're taking, I don't want you to take 75 hard, because you're not going to see the results that you're going, that you can achieve through it. And that's your fault for not taking the activities seriously and reporting true numbers.
Good.
So, sorry, coach
Yep.
answer.
Yep.
Okay. So Jeff, those are the things that I have. The last thing is time. So I always get asked the question, how much time should I allot to 75 hard? Honestly, on average, you're looking anywhere from 3 to 4 hours a day. But remember, again, these are all things that you should be doing anyways. Part of that 3 to 4 hours is 90 minutes of lead gen every single day. If, we always say, if I didn't set an appointment today or I didn't go on an appointment today, seriously, what did I accomplish? That's our job as real estate agents. Real estate is a contact sport. So we have to be talking to people every single day.
So one thing I gather from the 75 hard is, once you're done with this, you will be fully immersed in the Glover U sales system. I mean, you will be almost as qualified as someone who's been one-on-one coaching with us for 6 or 12 months in terms of your knowledge of our system and how you can apply it to your sales. What this does is it increases the intensity on the front end, so it kind of speeds up the process of the results, which, again, you're going from weekly accountability to daily accountability. And I love that's probably one of my favorite parts of it, just because I know how much time, energy, and effort we have poured into making sure our system is light years above the other systems being taught out there by people that aren't in the trenches or in the field with you. So I wrote down, and Taylor, I know you've got a few more things. What's the worst case scenario for those that go through this? And I really think that there's 3 types of agents that are going to go through this. All right, we'll just call it Agent A, Agent B, Agent C. So Agent A is going to complete everything on time. And if, again, vacation here and there, in other words, you're going to complete everything before May 15th. And you're going to close, in terms of results you can expect, based on our experience, you're going to close an extra 7 to 10 deals within the first 12 months of completing SalesRocket, if you actually complete everything within the parameters of the program. And I actually put in parentheses next to that, and for the rest of your career, because those 7 to 10 deals are not just going to be a one-time 7 to 10 deals. First of all, you're going to get referrals from those clients. But second of all, you're going to learn habits and characteristics and traits and routines that are going to stick with you for the rest of your career. So that's Agent A. That's going to be your best case scenario. Agent B, again, I know I said worst case scenario, but I wanted to share best to worst. Agent B, which is probably going to be most of the attendees, by the way, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say most. It's probably going to be a good handful of the attendees. We don't like this part of it because this is not why we rolled it out. But we know that there's a large portion of you that, for whatever reason, the time frame isn't going to work. But you're going to look at this and say it's worth it to put up that money anyways. You're going to complete most of the program. Agent B is going to complete most of the program. They're probably going to add 4 to 5 units to their business this year, just where you can source it right back to 75 hard and for the rest of your career, because those things will stick with you forever. However, because you don't complete everything within 75 days, you would lose your $1,000. And I know that's going to be a handful of you. I don't want that. That's not why we created the program. I was very firm on that when I shared it at the summit in Phoenix a couple of weeks ago. We wanted to create an extra level of intense accountability, and we know that by holding on to your money, so until you complete it is the way to do that. Otherwise, it's hard to stick to something if we don't have any skin in the game. And then there's Agent C. Again, I identified 3 types of agent: Agent A, Agent B, Agent C. Agent C just puts up the 1,000 to get the plan and does some, if any, of the program, but they use it with their team or with their brokerage, and they create their own version of it. By the way, that's totally fine. We're not opposed to that. We're not going to hold it against you. That's totally fine with us if you want to take this and create your own version with your team or brokerage later. And you are welcome to join us in the program if you fall into that category as well. So we talked about the tools that are needed, Taylor. Do you want to get to some of the frequently asked questions? How about the logistics of how we receive? They have to put up $1,000, and how do they get that back at the end? And how does that part work?
Yeah, so as long as 100% of the 75 days is completed, and I'm going to be honest with you, again, I'm putting my coach hat on. If you post your homework and I, can tell that maybe you're fibbing or you're not executing the way that you should, I'm going to message you and challenge you, because it's our job, again, to push you out of your comfort zone to help you live that unreal life. So no, it's always coming from care, and because I want you to see results from it. I don't want to stand up after the end of 75 days and say, okay, no one had extra production. Well, I want to be able to say, nope, everyone who actually participated in 75 hard and saw it through to the end had X results, just like I'm able to say from our associates at Glover Agency. Now, the one question that I see a lot in the chat is, can I work ahead? Respectfully, no. If I go to the gym today and I, let's just say run 10 miles, it's not going to be the same as running a mile each day, right? Because I'm creating a new habit and I'm conditioning my body. By creating 75 hard and following 75 hard, you're conditioning your real estate activities. So we do not allow you to work ahead. If you go on a vacation, you have the opportunity to catch back up afterwards, but there is no working ahead in 75 hard. So you can watch all SLS videos right now if you want, and I'm still going to ask you to watch them every single day. And again, putting my coach hat on for a second, watching all 34 videos right now and crash coursing it is not going to be effective for you, because you won't be internalizing it the way that you should, because it's information overload. SalesRocket is a lot. And, you can't effectively, you have no idea what the homework is that I'm going to give you on session 4 of SalesRocket. And, if you work ahead, you're only making it harder for yourself in the end and less effective.
By the way, for those that are new or newer to Glover U or our system or our people, I might be wondering, like, well, can I trust these guys really? Like, they're holding my money. I'm going to get back. All you have to do is a quick Google search or a Facebook search. I mean, I know I see a lot of familiar faces on here, so not that I'm needing you guys to do this, but literally you could, there'd be mile-long comments in the chat of how trustworthy we are with agents' businesses and their career. And I mean it when I say, and I know I sound like a broken record, but I told Taylor and Kathy Schweitzer from the start, I do not want this to be a moneymaker for this. I want to add value to the industry. And at the same time, I know the penalty has to be strong enough. And by the way, don't get me wrong. You might be thinking, well, Jeff, come on now. You're a smart business person. Not everyone's going to make it through. You don't think we have costs affiliated with this? We absolutely have costs because we have to do stuff every single day behind the scenes to administer the program. So, yes, the handful of you that don't make it through, thank you for the $1,000. It's going to go right into the cost for us to administer this program. And so, anyways, if anyone has any questions about the trustworthiness of our organization, just do a quick Google search, Glover U Reviews, or Facebook search Glover U Reviews. You'll see everything that you have to see on that.
Yep. So Jeff, I have two more questions that I'd like to answer. And if some of you are seeing that your question's not getting answered, it's because we already answered it. Make sure you go back and watch the recording. We've got it answered there for you.
Yeah.
You absolutely can take this alongside another group program. If you're not aware, our group programs launch February 5th and 6th. So if you're considering like listing mastery with 75 hard, those two complement each other perfectly. Prospecting Bootcamp, any of our programs will complement this perfectly with 75 hard, because 75 hard is just reconditioning the activities you should be doing every single day, and a program is helping you with training and implementation on a different level. So you can without a doubt do that, and also know all of our group programs are recorded. So if you feel like you might get overwhelmed at some point, you could always go back and rewatch them later after the 75 hard program has begun or ended. This is only going to go on once.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure, you know, that we have that opportunity of doing so. The second question that I got is, when does it begin? It starts February 1st. So if you're not looking at your calendar, this is this Thursday is our first day. So if you're wondering, and Jeff, you probably want to take this part, how do you get involved in 75 hard? I have a link that I can drop.
Yep. So why don't you do that now? And while you're dropping the link to join us for 75 hard, I want you to think about not just the 75 days. I want you to be thinking about the rest of your life, because you're going to be making lifelong connections with the people that are also making this commitment. And it's kind of like we see this kind of turning into like a separate club, no different than, if you ever bump into people that are going through 75 hard. And, for anyone that's been through it, by the way, I haven't personally been through the health one, but I know of it. I studied it, of course, even before we put our 75 hard for real estate together. I wanted to understand why it was effective on the health and fitness side. But that's like a club, the people that have gone through that, they create lifelong relationships, and we expect that the same thing's going to happen here. The one question I did see in the chat a few times, Taylor, was the amount of time expected per day. I know you threw out 3 to 4 hours a day. Let me be clear on something. It's not 3 to 4 hours of homework every single day. It's 3 to 4 hours of activities that you should be involved in anyways. It's just specific to that day. So most of you, as Taylor mentioned at the beginning, if you're working full time, you're working 6, 8, 10 hours a day anyways. So if you're working an average of an 8-hour day, yeah, this is going to be a good 25 to 30% of your day on a heavy day. What would you say a light day would be, like in terms of min and max? Give me the minimum. A lighter day of homework would be about how much time commitment?
I mean, 2 hours. Remember, it's 90 minutes of lead generation, and SalesRocket's 30 minutes.
Yeah. Okay, good.
So 2
So 2
hours.
hours on the minimum. I got 2 hours of now, again, if you're already doing lead gen for 30 or 60 minutes, then it's not exactly 2 hours, and it'd be, 60 minutes on top of that or whatever. But minimum of 2 hours, maximum of 4. Most are going to work out around 3, would you say?
Yes.
Yep. Which is nothing if you're working an 8 or 9 or 10-hour day anyways. All right, so let's get through some of these questions. And I know a lot of you are making the commitment to joining us starting this February. And if they need a day or two, Taylor, is that okay? How does that work? As long as they sign up by like midnight on the 31st
You
of
just got to join us by midnight on the 31st. So you review the 75 hard link that I'm posting in the chat. That answers a lot of the frequently asked questions in there as well. The last thing I will say is, keep in mind, Jeff and I are in this chat. So you're going to actually get coaching from us throughout these 75 days too, which,
we're not even promising that. We didn't put
opportunity.
that in writing, but it's going to happen. Right. We just,
Right.
Because both of our schedules are different. You might see me on a random Thursday and I've got a message just for this group and I'm live with you or whatever. But that is something that I would imagine, since this is our first time running it, you're probably going to see us more than the second or third group that goes through this program, because we want you to win. And selfishly, when you win, we win. And that's, we know you guys will shout from the rooftop, "Oh my God, this experience with Glover U was great." So trust me when I tell you, we're going to do everything we can as if we were your team leader or your broker, helping, help you succeed.
Yep. So the
So
last
get
thing
to some
I'll
of the
say,
questions in
Jeff,
the chat,
yeah,
Taylor.
I've been answering them as we go.
Okay.
If you have already signed the commitment, you will be receiving the Facebook link later today. So just know you have to sign up and sign the commitment before we will put you in the Facebook group. You'll get that before the first. And then the only other thing that I just wanted to touch on, and I know that we're coming up on 4 o'clock right here. Jeff, you've always said this to me and it stuck with me. How bad do you want it and what price are you willing to pay? And all you're doing by joining 75 Hard is betting on yourself. As long as you believe in yourself that you're going to do the activities that we suggest you do every single day, and you're going to show up to work and you're going to do the things that we're going to tell you help breed successful real estate agents, $1,000 should be nothing. You're going to get that back in May, and you can use it to go on a wine tour in Traverse City when you join us for the retreat or whatever you want. But if you're questioning it, my honest, heartfelt response is, do you believe in yourself? And if you believe in yourself, then it shouldn't be a question. I want to see you in the program.
And by the way, if you don't, you got a lot going on right now, and based on our conversation today, you think it's going to be too much. I mean it when I tell you, we don't want to take your money. Just join us for round 2 whenever we decide to launch a round 2, assuming that we end up doing a round 2. And if you fall into somewhere in the middle, like you're like, hey, even because I know what's going to happen, there's going to be a good handful of you that participate mostly, and you get most of the stuff done, and you're going to look back and say, you know what, even though I didn't get my $1,000 back, I did A, B, C, D, and E, and I got these 6 closings to show for it. It was absolutely worth that. And again, I don't want that. I want to be able to say we refunded 100% of the people, but I also know life gets in the way, and I just know from years of experience myself, it's the same thing I tell brokers and owners and team leads about agents going to events. Unless they have money and skin in the game, they're not going to take it seriously. It's the same reason why one-on-one coaching, the $1,000 a month for one-on-one coaching, while, after everything's all said and done, the coaching company or the coach does, pretty well on their time. It's more about you having skin in the game, so you're more likely to take their advice. And that's really the premise behind this being effective. And while we had a lot of people advise us on, why don't you just charge $1,000 no matter what? No. I got to give you a reason to get your money back, because then you're more likely to complete it versus just thinking, well, the money's gone anyways, who cares? So you have incentive to do that. And I can't wait to spend the next 75 days with you guys. Will it be uncomfortable? Absolutely. But at the end of it, are you going to look back and say that was the best way to start off a new year, especially one that's kind of a little shaky to begin with? I think that'll be the case. And I look forward to seeing everyone at the finish line, hopefully celebrating together. We'll have some sort of, Taylor, we'll write it down right now. We'll make the commitment now. Those that make it through 75 Hard, we're going to have something real special for you at the retreat this summer in July. We'll create some special club or some special event for this group. So we're going to have to get on the phone with the hotel to start coordinating that.
Sounds great. All right, I'm excited, guys. If you have any questions, email info@GloverU. I highly encourage you to listen back to this recording that we're going to email out to you. We probably answered the question if you were unable to join us on time. Also, go to this link that I just dropped in the chat. It's got a ton of frequently asked questions in there for you. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you on Thursday.
Awesome. See you guys. Good luck in 75 Hard. We're all rooting for you. I'll see you in the program.
Bye.